a Spectrum Internet customer, you get one line of unlimited mobile included for 1 year. Additional lines, just $30 each. Click, call, or visit a Spectrum store today.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. China says it's weighing proposals by the U.S. to begin trade talks. The decision comes as a loophole allowing low-cost Chinese goods into the U.S. tax-free is now expired. As a result, consumers using retailers like Shein and Temu are likely to see a rise in prices. Democrats continue to criticize the president's economic policies.
I have CEOs of major corporations with thousands of Illinois employees who are calling me and don't know which way to turn. This is no way to run an economy. It's no way to run the country.
Wall Street extended its gains to a 9th straight day Friday, following a stronger than expected April jobs report. Employers added 177,000 jobs, marking a slowdown in hiring from March, but better than what economists anticipated. The administration says the report shows the president's policies are working.
The president has delivered over and over again, and he's going to continue to do so, and he's going to do what's right for the American people.
The 151st Kentucky Derby kicks off Saturday, featuring a fashion show mixed with an all-day party. 19 horses will race just over a mile around the Churchill Downs track. And for the second straight year, the Derby total purse is $5 million, with the winning owner earning just over $1 million and a gold trophy. And that is a look at your Spectrum News in 90.
To a special edition of The Big Deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. This week, the big deal was President Donald Trump completing his first 100 days in office. While the last 14 weeks have been a whirlwind of activity in the nation's capital, we want to explore how the Trump administration's policies and actions are playing out on the ground across the 50 states. On today's special report, we will hear from a cross-section of our Spectrum News political journalists about how the president's 100 days are changing America. A number of new opinion polls were released this week, and they measure how Americans are feeling about President Donald Trump 100 days in. It's not looking so good. If you look at this green line, it shows that his approval rating has dropped 8 percentage points since Inauguration Day. At the same time, this gold line, his disapproval number, is rising and now stands at 53%. Spectrum News national political reporter Taylor Poplar starts us off with some analysis.
He has signed them in D.C.'s Capital One Arena, on Air Force One, at his Mar-a-Lago club, and almost daily in the Oval Office. A defining aspect of President Donald Trump's return to power is his embrace of executive orders. He's signing, on average, more than 1 a day, a record pace, according to presidential historian Barbara Perry.
But it is unprecedented. That does distinguish, again, this presidency in the volume of the orders and the content of the orders.
The president signed 139 orders in his first 100 days. They range from dismantling the Department of Education and ending federal diversity, equity, and inclusion programs to declaring English the country's national language and even mandating acceptable water pressure in showers. Perry says President Franklin Roosevelt's 99 executive orders signed in his first 100 days is the next closest.
Their aggressiveness and their reach and their breadth are breathtaking.
Supporters say that aggressiveness reflects Trump's belief that a president has sweeping powers. His critics, though, accuse him of using orders to exercise power he does not have, daring the courts and Congress to rein him in, like when he signed an order ending the constitutional guarantee of birthright citizenship. Trump's use of executive orders is turbocharging a trend that began as Congress became increasingly gripped by partisanship, unable to get things done. Since January, Trump has only signed 5 bills into law that Congress passed.
It's harder and harder to get Congress on board to do something. So each of these presidents in recent years has said, well, I asked Congress to do it. They couldn't do it. So I have my pen and I'm going to try to do it by executive order.
But the trade-off is twofold. A new president can simply reverse executive orders they disagree with, and legal challenges can slow or stop the order shortly after the current president signs them. Taylor Popolars, Spectrum News.
Joining me now are two of the very best political analysts in the country. We're going to start with my Spectrum News colleagues in the South. In Florida, we've got Yvette Bruzoil, a political anchor based in Orlando. In North Carolina, we have political anchor Tim Boyum joining us from Raleigh. And Tim, North Carolina was an important swing state last year. President Trump won by nearly 200,000 votes. We've got a map that shows why and how the president was very popular all throughout the South, all across the country, in a lot of places, but the solid South there. But if we look at North Carolina, the president's support was lower than in most of the South at 45%. Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, don't make any mistake. North Carolina is still a little bit of a lean right purple state. But, you know, unaffiliated voters outnumber both Democrats and Republicans in the state. North Carolina voted for a Democrat governor, voted for a Democrat attorney general in the past election. And so this state is really truly still up for grabs. And I do think there are concerns among a lot of those unaffiliated voters of what's being, you know, viewed as chaos in the country right now, particularly economically. And those voters that pushed for Donald Trump because they wanted a change in the direction of this country when it comes to the economy are now concerned with all of the tariff talk, the trade talk, and the grocery prices not going down as much as they thought it might be. And now they might see clothing prices go up. And so I think that is taking its toll, sort of the fatigue of chaos on North Carolina right now, in really a lot of ways across the country.
Well, speaking of chaos, I've got to ask you about the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE for short, which, despite its name, is not a government agency. It has disrupted the operation of many agencies, sweeping up data, issuing termination notices, in many cases making unfounded claims of fraud and waste. What's that all about?
Yeah, you know, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, they wanted to cut the deficit and cut all this spending in federal government. And, you know, it started out with, I think, a lot of support from people, even on both sides of the aisle, about shrinking government. But there's just the abrupt slashing without sort of months and years of looking into what can be cut, you know, in a more orderly fashion, I guess, for lack of a better term about that, has really created a lot of chaos. And it's playing out in states like North Carolina. Just this week, Duke University announced that they're going to look for buyouts. And if they don't get buyouts, they're going to start terminating employees potentially and cutting hundreds of millions of dollars because of federal funding that is not going to come. And they're going to spread it across the university. You know, North Carolina has a lot of research institutions, particularly with their universities. There's a huge EPA research center in the Research Triangle Park here in North Carolina. And there's just a lot of concern and chaos right now about what those cuts have meant. And by the way, they've had to go back and rehire some of these people, and the cuts may not be as big as they thought. Just this week, Elon Musk said it was a lot harder than he thought it was going to be. And I think the question of what DOGE looks like in the months ahead is a big question as we get past these 100 days.
Beth, let's talk about President Trump's immigration agenda. Through executive orders, the administration has ramped up deportation arrests and deployed federal troops to the southern border. We saw border crossings fall to the lowest number ever recorded last month. The president's not just cracking down on illegal immigration, though, also legal immigration. The White House revoking humanitarian parole for more than 500,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans, many of whom live in Florida. And while that action was blocked by a federal judge, what is the mood in those communities in your state?
Yeah, the mood is definitely one that's changing big time, I would say. And I'm observing the landscape, and whether it's in Central Florida, say Orlando, Tampa area, or South Florida, what I'm seeing is those Venezuelans who've been in the U.S. for quite a few years, they are shocked as to what they're seeing because they feel like they got some sort of promise from, say, Senator Rick Scott and so many others. And then you've got more new school, more younger who are here willing to work, do a lot of the physical labor, I would say, landscaping business, house cleaning, working in hotels. They're trying to figure out the next move. So you've got within the Venezuelan community a divide that's growing. I also want to point out that Florida has the highest number of Venezuelan population in all of the U.S. So you know how very important that is. We got about 400,000 Venezuelans here in the state of Florida. Haitian community, also a growing community when it comes to the hotels and the tourism industry here in Central Florida. So they're very leery. They're very scared is what many of them are telling me.
And Beth, I saw this week you were in the nation's capital talking with some Florida lawmakers about the Trump administration's first 100 days. What does the Florida delegation think about how your state is doing?
No surprise here. Every Republican I interviewed is, cheering on the president, saying this is what's happened in the first 100 days. The number one thing that every single one has said, the common denominator, is that the fact that the numbers at the border have dropped dramatically. However, I've got to tell you, we were given a little bit of access here with somebody coming out of the White House who reports to the National Security Council and this whole debacle with the Signal app and Michael Walls. And they could have said, no, we're not talking to you. They did come out and talk to us. So the White House giving some access to some of the media, but again, most Florida lawmakers, no surprise there, cheering on the president.
Okay. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Tim. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll take a trip to the Midwest and check in with our Spectrum News colleagues in Wisconsin and Ohio.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Bring it to the party, bring it to the top, bring it to the party. Never gonna stop.
Enjoy, unwind, connect with Spectrum TV on Demand. From the latest hit movies you've been waiting to watch to your favorite comfort shows and more, all available instantly for you to stream. Create the all-around entertainment experience you've always wanted with Spectrum TV on Demand. Browse over 80,000 on-demand titles today.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
With this special edition of The Big Deal with our focus on President Trump's first 100 days in office. On Tuesday, the president hosted a rally in the Midwest celebrating his administration's wins. Here's part of his speech where he touted his economic policies.
A lot of auto jobs coming. Watch what's happening. The companies are coming in by the tens. You got to see what's happening. They all want to come back to Michigan and build cars again. You know why? Because of our tax and tariff policy.
Joining me now to talk more about how the president's first 100 days have changed America is a Spectrum News panel from the Midwest. We've got Curtis Jackson joining us in Columbus, Ohio, and Jason Fechner in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Curtis, let me start with you. President Trump's tariffs are supposed to create a financial incentive for companies to bring manufacturing from overseas and open factories here. Is there any sign of automakers or other industries doing that so far?
The only sign from automakers at this point, Errol, appears to be that they are revising their profit projections for the year because of the uncertainty surrounding tariffs. We've already seen some impact as it relates to jobs in Michigan that has not filtered down to other states that depend on auto manufacturing. But this uncertainty around tariffs as it relates to the auto industry is certainly going to be a factor as we move forward to the second quarter. The president, of course, has said that he is going to soften the impact of some of the auto tariffs, but it remains to be seen if that will be enough for everything to stabilize.
And Jason, meanwhile, the president's escalating trade wars could severely hurt American farmers, including many in Wisconsin, where you are. And the Trump administration knows that. They seem to even be considering a bailout for some farmers. Tell us more about that.
Errol, great to see you, and this feels a lot already like 2018, but for a lot of farmers here in Wisconsin and across the rest of the country, they are worried that this could be worse. Back in 2018, during Trump's first term, farmers lost roughly $27 billion then in the trade war with China, and they were able, through subsidies and bailouts, to basically recoup about $23 billion from the federal government. This time around, the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, has said there's not that much money this time around to potentially help out, and she said that they don't think that they're going to need these bailouts. But when you're talking about soybean exports alone to China, that's a $13 billion industry across the country. Here in Wisconsin alone, China is our third biggest trading partner right now, to the tune of roughly $324 million. And for a lot of these farmers out there, they don't like uncertainty, and these crops especially are planted and planned out years essentially in advance. So all those soybeans that they have planted right now, they're not going to necessarily have a market if a deal doesn't come to fruition and quickly for them. We've already seen pork exports dropping roughly 80% lower than the 4-week seasonal average right now. So a lot of farmers are already starting to feel the pinch, and a lot of them are worried about where this is going in the short term and long term ahead.
Okay, and now Curtis, this week also marked J.D. Vance's first 100 days as vice president. He, of course, is an Ohio native that you've covered for a long time. What kind of role is he playing in this administration?
Well, a lot has been said about the role that vice presidents play in any administration, but it seems to me that Vance has carved out a lane for himself as it relates to foreign policy. Certainly that has not always been a good thing in terms of the image of the White House around the world. You can think back to that clash that Vance had with Volodymyr Zelensky in the White House, but he's also been actively engaged in the peace process, appears to have been the administration's spokesperson for how that process is going.
Okay, and now, Jason, this week also marked a national election up north in Canada, and something happened there politically that reminded me of what happened in Wisconsin. We had a candidate who was really supported by Donald Trump, or at least was considered aligned with him, and that candidate lost very badly. Trump was the issue, and the Liberal Party swept to victory by campaigning against him. It reminded me of that race back in April when a Supreme Court seat was up there in Wisconsin, and by simply supporting him, Elon Musk and Donald Trump ended up kind of killing their candidates' chances. Is that going to be the norm, do you think?
I think it could be, Errol, and that's the old axiom in politics, of course. You kind of run against what's failing or what's not working. In Canada, Trump's approval rating, according to Politico going into that election there, was sub 20%, I think around 18 points overall. His unfavorables topping 80% there. So it doesn't take a mathematician or a polling expert to say, well, we're going to run against that, and that worked out well for the Liberals in Canada. And as you mentioned, similar story here in Wisconsin, going into our judicial election for the state Supreme Court earlier in April. Trump's polling, according to the Marquette Law School poll, sub 50%, around 48%. Elon Musk's favorables closer to around 40% here statewide. So Democrats and those supporting the liberal-leaning candidate for the state Supreme Court really ran against Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and that turned out pretty well for them. Now, Trump on Thursday had posted to Truth Social. He's showing polling from Rasmussen showing that he's up 2 points over just a course of 24 hours at around 50% now. So, kind of all's well that ends well in the White House right now, but especially if they can't get the economy in check and get these tariffs resolved, these trade deals potentially resolved as they say they will, a lot of Republicans are going to be running against a very unfavorable economy, of course, going into the midterms, and Republicans and the White House definitely don't want that. So a lot of wheeling and dealing in the weeks ahead.
Thank you, both gentlemen. We are not done just yet. Coming up next, we will hit the East and West Coast and hear from Spectrum News political analysts in New York and California. Stay with us.
For the millions of school-age children across the country, the state of their schools can have a lasting impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms. Available on the Spectrum News app.
Look at this.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together.
Oh, that was funny.
It's all about connecting with seamless connectivity. And internet customers get one mobile line included for 1 year with Spectrum.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
I will end inflation. The economy, I believe, is going to be very strong. I'm going to bring down your energy costs. The massive tax cuts and no tax on tips, we're going to make sure it gets done. If I'm president, I will have that war settled in 1 day, 24 hours.
You're watching The Big Deal, where we are focusing on President Trump's 100 days in office. It was a look back at some of President Donald Trump's campaign promises that he has yet to deliver on. While he did not end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours or bring down inflation, President Trump has kept his word on other promises, including the pardoning of January 6 rioters and imposing a 145% tariff on Chinese imports, more than double the level he originally proposed. And the administration still has more than 1,300 days to go in this term. Joining me now are 2 political experts from the East and West Coast to talk more about Donald Trump's second-term scorecard so far. We've got Spectrum News political anchor Alex Cohen joining us from Los Angeles, and Spectrum News chief national political reporter Josh Robin, based in New York City, and joining me here in studio. And Josh, we know the president is ticking off a lot of campaign promises, but his approval rating is declining, which is a sign that at least some some voters are not happy with what he's doing. What do you think is going on there?
I think it's the economy. If you look at the numbers, that certainly bears it out. His levels on things like immigration, the approval rating is still basically the same. I wouldn't say that the economy has gotten materially worse. I think that people feel uneasy. The jobs report today was actually pretty positive, but with these tariffs that are being instituted and then renegotiated, there's a lot of unease as to where things will go. Finally, I should note that the poll numbers have not cratered. The president's approval and disapproval ratings are similar, in fact, a little bit better than they were for much of his first term. It's about 45% now approval rating. It's flipped, meaning that more people disapprove than approve of him, but that was the way it was during his first term.
Okay, and now, Alex, let's talk about those tariffs on China. 145% tariff. It is directly hitting the port of Los Angeles because almost half of shipments that come through the port are coming from China. The port's executive director this week said that shipping volume is going to drop by 35% next week, and he explained what that's going to mean for consumers. Let's take a listen to that.
If you're out looking for a blue shirt, you might find 11 purple ones and one blue in a size that's not yours. So we'll start seeing less choice on those shelves simply because we're not getting the variety of goods coming in here based on the additional costs in place. And for that one blue shirt that's still left, you'll see a price hike.
This sounds like a problem for shoppers everywhere, and for the local economy, it sounds like bad news for the people who move the goods in and out of the port of Los Angeles.
That's right, Errol. It's a double whammy. Gene Soroka's remarks, they reminded me of something that we heard President Trump say this week. Maybe at Christmas time, your kid might get $2 instead of 30, which, I think there's a lot to be argued for that. We've got filled up landfills. Maybe it's better for all of us to consume less. But after we saw that footage, people will remember on the campaign trail, then candidate Donald Trump promising us prosperity and wealth. It feels like these two messages don't quite jive. And as you mentioned, it's not going to be just a problem for consumers. One of our huge industries here in Southern California are our two major ports. And if these port workers lose their jobs, I think that will be something that will see those popularity and approval ratings continue to decline because it's a huge part of our economy.
Okay, now, Josh, in the last 100 days, we've seen the Trump administration really focus on New York, from freezing money for Columbia University to suing New York for not cooperating with the federal hunt for undocumented immigrants. We've got a Secretary of Transportation who's been beefing with the governor of New York over a tolling plan that only affects a small piece of Manhattan. Why this obsessive sort of focus on New York, do you think?
I actually think people might have thought that it would be worse. There definitely is a lot there, but he is going after other places as well. Look, New York has this reputation. I think that it's not really entirely accurate as being this liberal bastion. Actually, there's been a lot of conservative thought that has emerged from New York and conservative leaders. Start with congestion pricing. This is a tolling plan for, as you mentioned, the Central Manhattan Business District. It required federal approval, and it is not particularly liked among suburban New Yorkers, and the Trump administration has seized on that. There also is this kind of weird, people might argue, unethical dance that the Trump administration had with New York's mayor, Eric Adams, perhaps keeping him out of a conviction. So that has gone on. Additionally, the Trump administration has withheld $300 million in disaster aid, but that's been seen in other places as well, including in red places.
Okay. Thank you very much, Josh. Thank you, Alex. And thank you all at home for joining us for this special edition of The Big Deal. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Our journey
towards improving mental health doesn't always present a clear path. Every Thursday on Your Mental Health, we listen to voices across our communities, discussing the challenges of everyday life and presenting accessible resources to guide us along the path to our well-being, providing hope and empowering choices that light the way to a healthier you.
Your Mental Health with Dr. Nicole Clark, Thursdays on Spectrum News Plus, available on all your favorite devices.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum